The entire studio went silent. 20 cameras, 50 crew members, 3 celebrity judges sitting behind their pristine white table, all staring at Judge Kang Ji-hoon, Korea's most ruthless food critic, the man who'd made grown chefs cry on national television as he took his 3rd bite of jollof rice. Then his 4th. He'd never taken more than 2 bites of anything in 5 seasons of Masters of the Kitchen. Everyone knew this. 1 bite for initial impression, 2nd bite for confirmation, then the verdict. That was his method, his signature. But he kept eating. Chef Zara Okafor stood 10 feet away in her competition whites, half Nigerian, half Korean, braids pulled back tight, hands clasped behind her back to hide the shaking. Watching this man who destroyed careers with a single word, who'd once called a Michelin-starred chef's signature dish aggressively mediocre. And he couldn't stop eating her grandmother's jollof rice. The other 2 judges, Chef Song Min-jae and celebrity restaurateur David Kim, exchanged glances. The host, frozen mid-sentence, didn't know whether to cut to commercial or keep rolling. Ji-hoon finally set down his fork, slowly, like it physically hurt to stop. He looked up at Zara. His expression was completely unreadable. And Zara knew, in that moment, that she was either about to win everything or lose it all in the most spectacular way possible. But let me back up, because this story doesn't start in a TV studio. It starts 6 months earlier in a tiny restaurant in Itaewon that was bleeding money every single day. 2 spoons. That's what Zara had named her restaurant. Cute, right? 1 spoon for her Nigerian heritage, 1 for her Korean side. A fusion concept that sounded brilliant in her head and on paper. In reality, it confused the hell out of everyone. Korean customers came in expecting Korean food and got confused by the menu. What is jollof rice? Why is there gochujang in the egusi soup? This isn't authentic. Nigerian expats and African diaspora folks came in hopping for a taste of home and felt betrayed by the Korean elements. This isn't real Nigerian food. You've diluted it. And everyone else. They didn't come at all because they couldn't figure out what kind of restaurant it was supposed to be. Zara had opened 2 spoons 18 months ago with her life savings, a small business loan she was drowning in, and a dream that felt so clear back then. She was going to show Seoul, show the world, that you could honor both sides of yourself through food. That fusion wasn't confusion. That being mixed wasn't being less. She'd grown up in Seoul, raised by her Korean father after her Nigerian mother died when Zara was 8. Summers were spent in Lagos with her grandmother Adiz, learning to cook in that loud, chaotic kitchen full of aunties and cousins and arguments about the right way to make pepper soup. She belonged to both worlds and neither. Too Nigerian for Korea, too Korean for Nigeria, always translating herself, always code switching. Food was the only language that felt true in both places. So she'd gone to culinary school in Seoul, graduated top of her class, worked at 3 different restaurants, learning everything she could, saved every one, and finally opened her own place at 27, full of hope and vision. Now, at 28, she was 3 months away from closing permanently. The lunch rush, if you could call it that, was over. 4 customers total. Zara sat in the empty dining room, staring at the bills spread across the table. Rent, utilities, suppliers, her part-time staff who she'd have to let go soon because she could barely pay them. Her phone buzzed, her father. "Zaria, have you eaten?" The most Korean question in the world. Food as love, food as concern. "Yes, Appa," she lied. She'd been too stressed to eat. "Good. Listen, I talked to Director Shin at my company. They need someone in accounting, entry level, but it's stable. I can get you an interview." "Appa, I'm not closing the restaurant to become an accountant." Her father sighed, the same sigh he'd been giving her for 18 months. "I'm not saying close it, I'm saying have a backup plan. This fusion concept, Zara, people don't understand it. Maybe if you focused." Focused on what? Being more Korean, more Nigerian. Which side am I supposed to erase, Appa? Silence, then quietly. "I'm just worried about you." "I know, I'm fine, I have to go. Customer just walked in. Another lie. No customer had walked in. She hung up and put her head in her hands. That's when her best friend Naomi burst through the door, waving her phone like it was on fire. Zara, oh my God, you need to see this. Naomi, I'm really not in the mood. Masters of the Kitchen is doing open auditions. Next week, Seoul regional submissions. Zara looked up. The cooking competition show. Yes, the huge one. The one Judge Kang hosts. The one where the winner gets 100 million won and a feature spread in every food magazine in Korea. 100 million won. That was more than enough to save 2 spoons, to pay off the loan, to actually market properly. But Zara shook her head. Those shows aren't for people like me. What does that mean? I mean they want traditional Korean chefs, or fancy French-trained chefs, not some mixed girl making fusion food that nobody understands. Naomi sat down across from her, serious now. Or maybe that's exactly what they want, something different, someone with a story. She paused. What do you have to lose? Zara looked around her empty restaurant, at the beautiful tables she'd chosen, the artwork from both Nigerian and Korean artists, the menu she'd crafted so carefully. Everything, Zara said quietly. I could lose everything. You're already losing everything, Naomi said, not unkindly. At least this way you'd lose it fighting. Zara submitted her audition video at 3 a.m. after 3 bottles of soju and a lot of crying. She kept it simple, introduced herself, explained her concept, cooked one dish, Korean-style suya beef with gochujang marinade and Nigerian pepper sauce served over coconut jollof rice. She talked about growing up between worlds, about her mother who died too young, about her grandmother who taught her that cooking was prayer, about believing that fusion wasn't dilution, it was alchemy. She was probably too honest, too emotional, too much. She hit submit and immediately wanted to take it back. 2 weeks later, she got the call. Is this Chef Zara Okafor? Yes. This is the production team from Masters of the Kitchen. We'd like to invite you to participate in this season's competition. Are you still interested? Zara's heart stopped. Yes, I'm interested. Wonderful. We'll send over the contracts and filming schedule. Oh, and Chef Okafor, we loved your audition. Judge Kang specifically requested you. Said your food had interesting emotional resonance, or something like that. Which, coming from him, is basically a marriage proposal. The producer laughed. Zara didn't. Because she knew exactly who Judge Kang Ji-hoon was. Everyone in Korea's food world knew Judge Kang. 42 years old. Trained at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris. Worked under 3 Michelin-starred chefs in France and Japan before returning to Seoul and opening his own restaurant, Kang, which received 2 Michelin stars within a year. He was brilliant, demanding, and absolutely terrifying. He'd been judging Masters of the Kitchen for 5 seasons, and his reputation was legendary. He didn't care about your sob story, didn't care about your potential, only cared about what was on the plate in front of him. He'd made a decorated chef cry in season 2 by asking if she'd learned to cook from a microwave manual. Made another pack up and leave mid-competition after calling his dish an insult to the ingredients. But he was fair, brutally fair. If your food was good, he'd say so. If it was exceptional, he'd fight for you. Zara had watched every season, had studied his critiques, knew exactly how exacting his standards were. And he'd specifically requested her. She didn't know if she should be honored or terrified. The competition started 2 weeks later. 12 chefs total. Most were exactly what Zara expected, trained at top Korean culinary schools, working at prestigious restaurants, specializing in traditional Korean or high-end Western cuisine. She was the only fusion chef, the only Afro-Korean contestant the show had ever had. Day 1 was introductions. Everyone standing in a line, cameras rolling, as the host introduced each chef to the judges and the audience. When it was Zara's turn, she felt every eye in the room on her. Chef Zara Okafor, owner of 2 Spoons in Itaewon, specializing in Afro-Korean fusion cuisine. Welcome. Polite applause, curious looks, and Judge Kang staring at her with an expression she couldn't read. The first challenge was immediate. Create a dish using the mystery basket ingredients in 60 minutes. No planning, no recipes, just skill and instinct. Zara opened her basket. Mackerel, tomatoes, Scotch bonnet peppers, white rice, gochugaru, seaweed. She almost laughed. The universe was either helping her or mocking her, because she knew exactly what to make. Her grandmother's jollof rice. The recipe Grandma Adiz had taught her when she was 10 years old, standing on a stool in that Lagos kitchen, learning to marry the flavors, as her grandmother called it. But not just jollof with Korean elements. Gochugaru for heat instead of only the peppers, seaweed for umami. Mackerel cooked the Nigerian way but plated the Korean way. She had 60 minutes. She got to work. Cooking on camera is nothing like cooking in a normal kitchen. The lights are hot. Cameras are everywhere, producers hovering, a clock counting down, visible to everyone. But Zara blocked it all out. When she cooked her grandmother's recipes, she was back in Lagos. She could hear Grandma Adiz's voice. You have to bloom the tomatoes properly, Zara. Don't rush it. Let them break down. Let them become sweet. She bloomed the tomatoes in palm oil. Thankfully, she'd brought her own supply. Added the gochugaru and Scotch bonnet together, letting the 2 types of heat marry. Toasted the rice until it was fragrant. The mackerel she grilled simply, the way her Korean father had taught her, with just salt and pepper. Let the fish speak for itself. As everything came together, Zara did something she always did when cooking her grandmother's recipes. She prayed, quietly, just a few words. Grandma, if you can hear me, help me get this right. 5 minutes left. She plated carefully. The jollof rice as the base, vibrant red-orange, studded with vegetables. The mackerel placed reverently on top, microgreens and sesame seeds for garnish. A small dish of her grandmother's pepper sauce on the side. Time up. 12 dishes, 3 judges. 1 hour of deliberation filmed and cut down to 5 minutes for TV. Zara stood with the other chefs as the judges tasted each dish, making notes, whispering to each other, nodding or frowning. When they got to her dish, Zara's heart was pounding so hard, she thought the microphone on her lapel would pick it up. Chef Song Min-jae tasted first. Her eyebrows went up. Interesting, very interesting. The heat is complex, 2 different kinds that complement rather than compete. David Kim nodded. The fish is perfectly cooked, and I've never had jollof rice before, but this is really good. Then Judge Kang picked up his fork. He took a small piece of the fish, a larger scoop of the jollof, tasted them together. 1 bite. His expression didn't change. 2 bites. He was chewing slowly, deliberately, processing. 3 bites. 4 bites. The studio had gone completely silent. He wasn't stopping. Chef Song and David exchanged glances. The host looked confused. The other contestants were whispering. Judge Kang set down his fork finally, looked up at Zara. Chef Okafor, he said, his voice carefully controlled. Can you explain what you were trying to achieve with this dish? Zara swallowed. I wanted to show that fusion isn't about forcing things together. It's about finding what they already have in common. The heat from gochugaru and Scotch bonnet peppers feels different but ultimately wants the same thing, to wake up the other flavors. The umami from the seaweed and the depth from the tomatoes. They're speaking the same language, just different dialects. Judge Kang was silent for a long moment. This is the best dish I've tasted in 3 seasons of this show, he said finally. Zara's knees nearly gave out. The technique is sound, he continued. But what makes it exceptional is that you're not performing fusion for the sake of novelty. You understand both cuisines intimately. You're not mixing them, you're translating. And that translation... He paused, and for just a second, something raw flickered across his face. That translation tastes like home. Even though it's not my home, do you understand what I'm saying? Zara nodded. not trusting her voice. Good, because if you can maintain this level of emotional and technical precision, you could win this entire competition. The other judges agreed. Zara's dish was ranked first out of 12. She advanced automatically to the next round. When filming wrapped for the day, Zara went back to the holding area and called Naomi, crying. "He said it tasted like home," she sobbed. "He understood what I was trying to do." "I told you," Naomi said, and Zara could hear the smile in her voice. "I told you to fight." But the competition was just beginning. And Zara had no idea that Judge Kang Ji-hoon was about to become more than just a critic who understood her food. He was about to become the reason she finally understood it herself. Round 2 came 3 days later. The challenge: create a dish that represents your culinary philosophy. No restrictions, no time limit, just your truth on a plate. The other chefs immediately started planning elaborate multi-course presentations. Molecular gastronomy, sous vide, foam, all the tricks. Zara sat in her apartment the night before, staring at her grandmother's old recipe book. The one Grandma Adiz had given her before she died 2 years ago. "This is yours now," her grandmother had said, pressing the worn notebook into her hands. "But Zara, listen to me. These recipes, they're not just food, they're memory, they're family, they're who we are, don't share them lightly." Zara had promised, and she'd kept that promise. She'd never served her grandmother's exact jollof recipe at 2 spoons, always altered it, made it fusion enough to feel like it belonged in her restaurant concept. But for this challenge, her culinary philosophy, she needed to cook the real thing. Her grandmother's jollof rice, exactly as she'd been taught. No alterations, no Korean elements to make it fusion. Just pure, perfect Nigerian jollof. It felt like breaking a promise. It felt like the only honest thing she could do. The next day, in the competition kitchen, Zara worked quietly. While other chefs orchestrated complex timing for multiple elements, she focused on one dish. The rice. The tomatoes bloomed until they surrendered their sweetness. The peppers balanced precisely. The palm oil, the spices, the patience. Cooking jollof properly takes time. You can't rush it. You have to let the rice absorb the sauce gradually, letting each grain soak up the flavor until the bottom gets that slight crust. The sauerkraut, though her grandmother had never called it that. 3 hours, most of it standing, watching, stirring occasionally, listening to the rice. Judge Kang walked by her station at one point. "Chef Okafor, you've been making the same dish for 3 hours." "Yes, chef." "It's just rice." "No, chef," Zara said, not looking away from her pot. "It's not." He paused, studied her, then moved on. When time was called, Zara had one perfect pot of jollof rice. She plated it simply, just the rice, no garnish, no fancy plating, just honest food. The judges tasted everyone's dishes, praised the creativity, the technique, the ambition. Then they got to Zara's. Judge Kang took one bite, then another. Then he closed his eyes. When he opened them, he looked at Zara, really looked at her. "This is what you've been protecting," he said quietly. It wasn't a question. Zara nodded. "This is perfection," he said. "Not because it's complex, because it's true. Every grain of rice tastes like it was cooked with, I don't know what to call it, purpose, intention." "Love," Zara said softly. "It's cooked with love, chef." Judge Kang's jaw tightened. For a moment, he looked like he wanted to say something else, something that had nothing to do with food criticism. But he was on camera. He was a judge. He had a role to play. "Top marks," he said instead. "Again." After filming, as contestants were leaving, a PA approached Zara. "Chef Okafor, Judge Kang would like to speak with you privately. He's in conference room B." Zara's stomach dropped. Did I do something wrong?" "No, ma'am. He just wants to talk." Zara found him in the small conference room, still wearing his judge's attire. He stood when she entered, which surprised her. "Chef Okafor, thank you for meeting me. I know this is unusual." It's fine. Is everything okay? He hesitated. Then, can I ask you something off the record, not as a judge? Sure. The jollof rice you made today, the exact recipe, is that from your grandmother? Zara nodded. Yes, she taught me when I was 10. And you've never served it at your restaurant? No, she made me promise. Family recipes stay in the family. Judge Kang was quiet for a long moment. My mother was a chef, not professionally, just... She cooked for our family. Simple Korean home food, nothing fancy. She died when I was young and my father remarried quickly. My stepmother was kind, but her cooking was different. Technically perfect, but different. He looked at Zara. I haven't tasted food that felt like love in 20 years, until today, until your jollof rice. And I just wanted to say, thank you for trusting us with something that precious. Zara felt tears prick her eyes. You understood what it was. I did, and I want you to win this competition, Chef Okafor. Not because of sympathy or story, but because you cook like food matters beyond just taste. And that's rare. He extended his hand. She shook it. And something in that handshake felt like the beginning of something neither of them had planned for.